Good evening. Once again, I'm George Harvey, Chief Forecaster, here with Weather Now, Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast. Before we get started, if you would not mind, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. That gets this video shared out to your news feed, so that way your friends and family can view it and get up to date on what to expect. We are back again here because I was just seeing a lot of confusion in the comments because I know there's multiple rounds of storms, so I wanted to kind of clear up some of the confusion, hopefully, and try to get you guys the latest on what to expect. This is not going to be a super long broadcast like we did just a couple of hours ago. I'm going to try to be straight to the point, answer maybe a few questions toward the end of the broadcast, and then we'll call it a day on that because I want to try to go get a nap in before a lot of this stuff hits later on tonight. Because right now, obviously, there's really not much out there severe-wise. It might sound loud because there's a lot of lightning out there, but as far as severe weather, not here yet. That's actually more toward the overnight time frame. So that's what we're going to talk about in this broadcast. And also talk a little bit about Wednesday night as well. I'll give it about 30 to 45 more seconds before we hop into what to expect and all the details. So once again, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now, Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning on in here. Make sure you say hello as you're coming in so I can see where you're watching from. And of course, don't forget to hit the share button, like the video, all that. You guys know how all that stuff works. Thank you guys very much for all that. We appreciate that. Hannah, we will get into that in just a moment. Ashley, good evening to you. Millie, thank you for sharing the broadcast. We appreciate that. Tyler, hello. Brett, good evening to you on YouTube. We are live both YouTube and Facebook tonight, as always. A good evening to you, Elizabeth. Hello, Silver Surfer. Once again, I'll probably give it about 20 more seconds. Sometimes the alerts and notifications, they go out slower for some folks, depending upon your internet and your connection. So I always try to give it a couple minutes before we get started. So if you're just hopping into the video, you have not missed a thing, just buckle in here with us, grab a soda or something. We got a lot to talk about here. There is now a 2 to 4% tornado risk overnight for Western Kentucky. We'll talk about that and break that down. We'll talk about why there may be a tornado risk issued for tomorrow night for a good chunk of Kentucky as well. I'll break that down for you. So just kind of buckle up here with us. We got West Liberty, Kentucky in here, Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Angela, hello, how are you? Laura, how are you doing? Seabury, Kentucky in here. Laurel County, the comments are going crazy. I appreciate everyone commenting. Alvin, hello, how are you? Hello from Hartford and Ohio County, Kentucky. Dixie, how are you doing? Kayla, good evening to you, my friend. Michelle, Callie, Deb, April, hello. I appreciate that. Oldham County's in here with Samantha. Ashland's in here as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started on things here. So once again, if you're just now tuning into the broadcast, welcome in. I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now, Kentucky. Thank you for all the likes and shares that we're seeing already. I appreciate you helping us get as many folks up to date on what to expect as possible. There has been a 2 to 4% chance of tornadoes occurring issued by the Storm Prediction Center for overnight in Western Kentucky. Let's go ahead and pull that up. But before that, I want to show you the camera out of Elizabethtown, where you can see there are some nice thunderstorms happening now. Let the camera refresh there. Really phenomenal timing there by the camera to actually start refreshing. Okay, thank you. I was like, am I going to look stupid here? I wanted to pull this up because right before I got on broadcast, it was a full-on lightning show in Elizabethtown. This is on the I-65 corridor looking south. This camera's out of Gage, Kentucky. It's going to refresh as well near Paducah. And then we're going to look at the radar as well as looking at the outlooks, and we'll look at the model data. So we're going to have all of that covered for you here. Just kind of stay patient with me, and I'll answer a few questions toward the end of the broadcast. Thank you. Wow, it was storming like crazy out there in West Kentucky earlier. Now the camera looks absolutely beautiful with that skyline. That is amazing. Okay, let's pull up our main screen here, show you what we're looking at when it comes to the outlook today. So we do have a 2 to 4% chance for tornadoes occur overnight in Western Kentucky in this green zone. By the way, I don't foresee this being expanded as far as the overnight time. Wednesday night, we do have the potential for more severe weather. We'll talk about that. But as far as the overnight now going into Wednesday morning, I don't see this one being really expanded. It could stretch out a little bit more, but these storms will quickly start to fade into massive thunder showers by the time they get close to central Kentucky. And then by the time they get into eastern Kentucky tomorrow morning around sunrise, they'll just be absolute downpours. No real severe concern with that. But there is a 2 to 4% chance out in western Kentucky tonight, as we have mentioned. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outlook for tomorrow. You can see it pretty much blankets the entire state. Everyone's in a 1 out of 5 risk. I do have the belief that there will be a 2 out of 5 risk issued somewhere in Kentucky. I would probably put it near the Ohio River, just to the south there. Places like Bowling Green, Campbellsville, Elizabethtown, Madisonville, Danville, Lexington, maybe. Somewhere in that general vicinity, I'll draw it for you. If I were to make a slight risk for tomorrow, it would probably be something like this. Again, that's kind of what I would do. Right now, I would say it's borderline. There are a lot of strong signals for some rotation tomorrow and some decent wind shear pockets. It's not really widespread. The only problem tomorrow is there's going to be so much liquid and so much moisture at every layer of the atmosphere that we may just look at hours and hours and hours of thunder showers tomorrow instead of a severe line of storms. That might be what develops tomorrow evening, but we'll talk about that in a second. We'll go over the model data and kind of show you what we're talking about. But as far as right now, a 1 out of 5 risk does exist for tomorrow in Kentucky. That's going to be for tomorrow evening, Wednesday evening, to clarify that a little bit further. And I do feel like you could argue that there could be a 2 out of 5 risk issued. Right now, that is only driven by wind. I do think you will probably see a 2 to 4% tornado risk tomorrow, probably somewhere pretty close to where I drew that circle before. Elizabethtown, Lexington, Madisonville, Morganfield, so on and so forth. Again, going to be very close because there are some signals that point toward that. There are some signals, like I mentioned, that don't point toward that. Again, I'll show you that here in just a little bit. I'm gonna take you through the latest models on weather-wise, and then we're gonna switch over to pivotal weather. And I'm gonna show you a few things, okay? But as far as weather-wise, let's go ahead and pull it up to 20Z and take you through the overnight here and show you why there's a 2% tornado risk out. Let me go ahead and put this into motion for you real quickly. And again, I see some comments asking that camera's in Elizabethtown looking south on the I-65 corridor. Okay, this is valid. Why? Wait, there's no way it's only 20Z. Let me refresh this. I just realized. Yeah, there we go. All right, now let's put it into motion. Now we're on 22Z, which is a little bit of a newer run from the model. Okay, so this is valid for about right now, and you can see it's doing okay. It's a little bit behind. Let's push us forward to about 10 o'clock. It does show some more thunder showers trying to get into central Kentucky. A lot of this green that you're seeing right here probably won't really exist, so pay more attention to the oranges, the yellows, the reds. The greens are much lighter. They probably won't really exist, all right? More so pay attention to the orange, yellow, red, purple, all that good stuff, okay? Advance this forward to about 1 a.m. You'll start to notice back out here toward Illinois into Missouri. This is the complex right here, just off your screen. Let me scoot that over a little bit. This is the complex here that could produce some spinny weather, if you will. I'm going to zoom it out just a little bit. Push us forward. You'll see it tries to kind of extend itself to the south. Now, this does not look as impressive as it did on earlier model runs. This looks a little bit less impressive, but it does still have a few little hooks in there. That's valid for around 3 a.m. Eastern time, by the way, as it enters western Kentucky. Push this forward about 5 a.m. You'll see some cells on the bottom side here. These would likely be the ones, if there are anything that spins, it would likely be these ones here. Again, maybe even looking at this one here, it's got that kind of like the hook shape that we look for. It's not going to be perfect on the model data, but it's there. And then fast and forward about 6 to 7 a.m., you can see that it kind of quickly fades into just regular thunder showers at this point. By about 8 a.m., 9 a.m. into noon, a lot of more rain just kind of takes over at that point. I will say that on this model run that we're looking at right now, it does look a little bit less wet. Let's switch over to the pivotal weather model run. This is the same model, but a little bit newer, which is just to see, yeah, if overall, you know, on an earlier run that I showed you on the last broadcast, going back to, let's say, the 19Z run, look at how much more rain is involved with this. Let me go ahead and look at all that, right? This is valid for 11Z up here. So if we go to the new run and look at 11Z, which would be this right here, it's a lot different. It's a lot different. It's much more suppressed. It's much more south. So the reason I mention that is because you need to take this with a grain of salt, right? This is not going to be 100% perfectly accurate, correct, right? As we wish it would in a perfect world. But I do think we're looking at some more thunder showers and rain showers for pretty much everyone overnight tonight going into Wednesday morning. The reason that there's a chance for some spin to occur, I'm going to go back to the 21Z run here. I want to show you what happens above our heads about 5,000 feet up. Right now, not a whole lot happening in Kentucky. That's why we really have no severe concern. There's almost no winds happening above our heads right now. Really hard for you to get severe. It's not impossible, but it's really hard for you to get severe weather until those winds above our head begin to really crank up. That's what happened last night. In central and western Kentucky, the reason we had really no severe warnings there is because there was almost no wind activity above our heads. Once these storms got into eastern Kentucky, some winds developed about 5,000 feet up, and the storms tapped into those, carrying those down to the ground, and that's what created the damaging wind and brief tornado threat in eastern Kentucky, which, by the way, the National Weather Service has confirmed tornado damage did occur in Brooksville, Kentucky last night in this northeastern corner. So again, you kind of need those winds to occur above your head a little bit to really get things going. And you'll see that it's really nothing, 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 nothing. And then about 3 to 4 a.m., there's just enough. Now, it doesn't look as great as it did earlier. Again, here is an older run. I will show you. And look, it looks a lot more, it looks a lot better, a lot faster, 38 knots or so, which is about 40 miles per hour. If you look at it now on the newer runs, it doesn't look as great, but it's still there. So that's the reason why there's a bit of a chance for some severe weather overnight. Because again, you see that the 850 millibar, what we call about 5,000 feet up, it starts to get going a little bit. And when that happens, these storms could tap into it. My only issue with the risk overnight is these storms that are happening right now. So taking off the model data, coming back over here to the radar data, these storms that are happening right now are currently blocking any energy, any warm, moist, unstable energy from getting up into Kentucky. So my question about tonight's system is, when this starts to get going out here, can this clear out of the way enough for some little pockets of instability, is what we call it, to move up into Kentucky, move up into Missouri and Illinois there in southern Indiana, and being able to mix with these storms? That's my only real thing about tonight. I don't know. That's why on the confidence meter, if I had to put it on the confidence scale, it's probably a 2 out of 5. Not really high confidence in it. It's overall a low threat anyway, but I really have concerns or doubts, if you will, that any real energy is going to make it up here, because look at how much rainfall is occurring. Let me put on the composite model here instead of the radar. I mean, look at how much, if I zoom this out, look at how much rainfall is happening here. So you have all this rainfall from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, right here, which, by the way, this over here into Texas and Oklahoma is severely underperforming. They had a 10% tornado risk here, and all I've really seen is special weather statements and flash flood warnings. Severely underperforming there. And my big question is can we get instability to shoot up here with the sun down, mind you? So most of our instability and energy for these storms comes from the heat, comes from the sunshine. So with that down, you almost need some sort of warm surge or warm nose to really push things back in here. So I really have doubts on if storm energy is actually going to make it up into Kentucky in time to catch that storm that we told you about, that storm system, which, by the way, is back out here towards Springfield, Missouri. And then stretching up into here, we'll see this kind of develop and then push into Kentucky. That's what we're talking about for the overnight hours. So will there be a gap in here? Will there be breaks in here for warm air and unstable air to push up in and meet that storm in time? Because I do think we'll have the wind energy, right? We have the low pressure that's kind of scooting over here, right? I do think we'll have the wind energy, the rotating winds, if you will. But you have to have the combination of all three. You can't just have 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3. You have to have something from every party. Every person has to bring something to the party, right? And I don't know. On top of that, all this rain right here that we're seeing is creating a big old cap or lid over the environment. I'll show you right here. See all that blue that you're seeing on your screen? That's a capping inversion. Basically, what that's doing is to help stop storms from going or being able to turn them into just regular thunder showers instead of allowing them to really see their full potential turn into severe storms. And right now, there's about a negative 300 cap in Missouri and Arkansas into Tennessee. So that has to get a little bit weaker, and so storms can actually explode and grow. I just have a lot of doubts, basically what I'm saying. So while there is a 2 to 4% tornado risk for overnight posted by the Storm Prediction Center, there are a lot of mitigating or limiting factors for that storm risk to actually be able to realize its full potential. So I say that because I don't want anyone freaking out thinking this is a headline outbreak type of event. I think if we do see any type of real activity, at the most, we'll probably see 1 to 2 tornado warnings, a few severe warnings for the far western corner of Kentucky, and that's probably about it. By the time this reaches to about Bowling Green, Litchfield, Hardinsburg, and then going east into Elizabethtown and deeper into Kentucky, these will turn into just regular massive thunder showers at that point. They won't really carry a severe risk for the Wednesday morning time frame. So that's how I think the overnight will take place. I think it's mainly in western Kentucky, like we talked about, turning these back off and then turning this back on. I think it's mainly in this green area. By the time it exits that green area, moves into Kentucky Wednesday morning, I think we're looking at massive thunder showers that are going to sound and look a lot more worse than what they actually are. So let's go ahead and move on to Wednesday night. And again, that time frame for tonight is basically 2 to 7 a.m. in the morning for western Kentucky. All right. Let's move on to Wednesday evening. Wednesday evening is quite the tricky one, and I've kind of pulled whatever hair I have left on the top of my head. I've kind of pulled it out trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen here. The reason for that is because, almost like tonight, we're going to have some things in place to support a severe threat, but we're also going to have things in place that are going to try and limit that severe threat. And I'll show you that real quickly. So let's go ahead and zoom into the local view here. Timestamps from the top left, by the way. So 2 p.m. Central Time is 3 p.m. Eastern Time, so on and so forth. And push this forward. Let's go ahead and skip through the overnight. We've already seen all that. Looks great. Fine. Cool. By the way, lots of rainfall to come. Additional 2 to 4 inches over the next 24 hours. Looks pretty possible. All right. So pushing this forward to about Wednesday around lunchtime. Some storms do try to ignite. I think these will struggle quite a bit because of all the storms that we had that we're going to have tomorrow morning. Going to leave the cap on the environment. I think we're not really going to see a whole lot Wednesday afternoon. As far as around dinner time on Wednesday, that's when things begin to tick up a little bit and things begin to wake up. And again, the reason for that is because the winds above our head start to wake up a little bit. So around 6 to 7 p.m. or so, we might start to see some cells pop off around Bowling Green to Elizabethtown into central Kentucky there. These will carry a severe risk. There is some spin there. But I will say on the newer model runs, it doesn't look all that impressive. You'll see this line here. So this line here stretching from about the I-64 corridor back into northwest Kentucky, that's going to be the main boundary. Anything below that will have the chance for severe weather. Anything above that, probably going to just be rain showers because the low pressure is likely going to be setting somewhere into southern Illinois or southern Indiana. And you have to be on the southern or eastern side of that low pressure in order to really see any real severe chances. Okay? Here's what I know about tomorrow. Here's what I know about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to be very close to a low pressure, which provides us some spin in the atmosphere for storms to work with. And it's also going to be dew points in the higher 60s, low 70s, so we have our moisture available. I also know that the storm mode looks pretty good for strong to severe storms. Maybe a line of storms with some Boeing segments, maybe some isolated multi-cells involved with that as well. So those are the things that are pointing toward a severe risk. What are the things that are trying to limit the severe risk? Well, quite frankly, number one, the amount of rainfall and time with storm coverage Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon may try and limit any of the energy really available for these storms Wednesday night. So a big question is, do we clear out at all tomorrow afternoon? Do we see any pokes of sunshine tomorrow afternoon to allow some heat and instability to really build up? Number two is we might be too moist. And what I mean by that is in a storm, you need a perfect balance. You need a little bit of dry air, a little bit of moist air. You need a little bit of wind shear, a little bit of energy, all that good stuff. So tomorrow, there's really no dry air available. You're going to feel it outside. It's going to be extremely muggy, muggier than today. It's going to be extremely muggy, not only here at the ground, but high up into the atmosphere. And when that occurs, a lot of times you get storms that overmix. And what I mean by that is you get storms that just turn in and balloon into massive thunder showers. Not massive in a way of severe weather, but massive just in size. And when that happens, you're going to block that energy and take that energy away from storms to be able to survive and to be able to thrive. Another thing is we're really lacking something called lapse rates for tomorrow. And again, that doesn't allow storms to really root and get going. So again, I think tomorrow has the potential to be a severe weather day. And I do think regardless, we're going to see a couple of severe warnings tomorrow night. But as far as a big outbreak sort of thing, that's really not going to happen, first of all. And number two, for us to see a real tornado or damaging wind risk tomorrow night, what we need to see is some sunshine, and some time with an empty radar. Right, the afternoon needs to be clear for a couple of hours. And if that happens, then I'll have some concern. It also comes down to the low pressure position. And what I'll do is I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay? It also comes down to the low pressure position. So I'm going to take this off the radar for a second. I'm going to do a little bit of drawing. Okay? So the low pressure position, the reason that it's important is because the closer that you are to the low pressure in setups like this, the more spin in the atmosphere that you have available to it. Some models have the low pressure there, or there, or there, or there. Okay? There's really no agreement right now. The big thing is, for us to see severe weather in Kentucky, the low pressure probably needs to be about right there, which means that our boundary is going to be about right here, which then puts pretty much all of Kentucky into the warm sector zone, and you're close enough to the low pressure that you're now in the spinny zone, or closer to the Ohio River. Okay. Well, what happens is if that low pressure is down here, well, now this is in the warm zone, right? And then this is in the spinny zone. And this up here is nothing. So that's why the low pressure position matters. And that's why you haven't seen any real changes to forecast lately, because the low pressure position has not been in agreement amongst model data. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Basically, what I'm saying is this is not going to be some type of big outbreak event for tomorrow night. The reason it's being talked about a whole lot is because really it's our best shot at severe weather in a while. If this was happening in the middle of springtime, we probably wouldn't be talking about it that much. So that just kind of shows you kind of how bored we are in the weather world, or how desperate some people are for weather. But just to recap, in case you came in here pretty late tonight into the overnight hours, about 2 to 7 a.m., I do expect a potential severe setup for Western Kentucky. And again, I still want to remind you guys that the main risk will be damaging winds, but there is a 2 to 4% tornado risk right here in green. Again, this is from 2 to 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. I do not expect that risk to expand into central or eastern Kentucky because, once again, as these storms move to the east, they're going to be moving out of those better winds that we showed you and thus turn into just major rain and thunder showers, okay? Wednesday afternoon, we may see a little bit of a break, maybe a few peaks of sunshine, and if we do, that sets the stage for Wednesday evening. Wednesday evening likely produces a damaging wind risk along the boundary, wherever that boundary sets up. That's what I showed you with the low pressures. And then from there, we kind of roll with it, right? And from there, we could see a tornado risk if things set up, but again, we'll just have to monitor kind of how the overnight and the morning goes tomorrow. That's going to play a huge factor into the risk for tomorrow evening. So my advice to you is to not try and get answers for everything right now. Take it one storm system at a time. Just know that most people are going to be completely fine. This is not a headliner event. The max potential that we see tomorrow is probably a 2 to 4% tornado risk for a lot of people in the state, and more so a damaging wind risk with a handful of warnings to be expected. That's kind of where we're at for right now. I'll get to a few questions at this point, but I want to say thank you to everyone that shared the broadcast and liked the broadcast so far. I hope you guys liked that breakdown. But I'll get to a few questions at this point. I do want to remind, I'm probably not going to answer like everyone's backyard questions. What's going to happen in my city, my zip code, my farm, my front yard? Because quite frankly, I feel like we just broke it down really well. And we're going to have forecast posts for you. And we've already done 3 videos on this. So at this point, hopefully everyone kind of knows what to expect. Just know to kind of pay attention throughout the next 24 hours. And by the way, once we get through Wednesday night and Thursday morning, the weekend looks super beautiful. Super beautiful. Friday through Sunday look really, really, really good. Okay. All right. Let's see here. No, so again, tonight, it's just this green area. This is it. So for the overnight hours, I want to reiterate. I want to kind of reiterate once again, because I'm seeing a lot of questions about everything that I just said 30 seconds ago. I'm not mad about it, but I just want to re-amplify that tonight's threat is really just in this green zone. Now, everyone else will see thunder showers overnight into Wednesday morning, but the risk for severe weather is not there really. Okay, we could see some brief, gusty winds up to 40 mile per hour, but that's not severe. All right, so for tonight or for the overnight, 2 to 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, the real simple answer is if you're not in green, you got nothing to worry about. Now, tomorrow night, almost everyone in the state has the same concern. So the answer is really going to be the same for everybody that asks, no matter where you are, what backyard you're in, what color clothes you have on. All right, so again, the answer is going to be pretty much the same for everybody. There is going to be more thunderstorms tomorrow night, probably after 6 p.m.-ish. Again, we'll update the timing as we get more clarity on things. And they're going to carry mainly a damaging wind risk, torrential rainfall risk, and probably see quite a few flash flood warnings throughout the day tomorrow, if I had to guess. Because I'm sure the flash flood guidance, let me go ahead and check that, by the way. I'm sure the flash flood guidance is quite high right now. Let's see. Composites. Nope. Yeah, that's what I wanted to use. I'm okay, down here. See, our soil saturation is actually not as high as I thought it would be. It's actually a lot lower than I thought it would be. Actually, you know what? It's going to take a lot of rain tomorrow to get a flash flood warning. I thought we were like a lot more wet than what we actually are right now. I really did. That's funny, Tabitha. I'm going to be around 11 a.m. tomorrow. I mean, you're just going to be prepared to drive through a lot of heavy rainfall the entire way. If I were you and traveling, I would probably wait until after lunch. Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate that. Christian, I appreciate that, my friend. So if you had to take a guess, where would you say the worst case scenario of severe weather would be Wednesday night? Well, again, I think everyone has the same risk in Kentucky for tomorrow night. If I had to take a guess on like where I thought, let me pull up the drawing pin real quickly, where I thought the best risk would take place. Can I please click this? Why is it not letting me? Hello? Okay, it's not gonna let me do it. All right, whatever. If I had to take a best guess on where severe weather would be possible or the greatest risk tomorrow, probably somewhere in here. Probably like right around the I-64 corridor, basically in between the I-64 corridor and the Western Kentucky Parkways. But again, that really depends. It really depends on where the low pressure sets up. If it's there, that's perfect. If it's down here, well, now the risk is down here. So again, it's really hard to answer that question because it all depends on where the low pressure sets up and if we have time to clear out in the afternoon tomorrow. Right, if we see some sunshine. Now, don't go out there if you see sunshine tomorrow afternoon and you're thinking, oh, God, here comes the end of times. No, don't do that. You still need other things to line up for you, right? But it all depends on kind of where everything mixes together the best. But right now, from the model data that I'm seeing, if there were a slight risk issued, I would expect it to be somewhere in here, okay? But again, that could easily change. I think what happens tonight into the overnight and tomorrow morning is really going to have an impact on what we see tomorrow night as well. That's why in situations like this, you guys see me post about it, talk about it a lot. I say, hey, let's take it one system at a time because weather kind of follows the domino effect, right? So you really kind of have to take it one system at a time because one system will affect the next, it'll affect the next, it'll affect the next. So you have to be really careful about looking too far ahead. Again, I see some people just hopping on. For tonight, what we're expecting is this right here. Let me go ahead and pull this back up for you. There is a 2 to 4% tornado risk in Western Kentucky from 2 to 7 a.m. on Wednesday. But again, the damaging wind is probably the main risk there. And again, I want to point out throughout the broadcast, I pointed out several times that there are some limiting factors for both the overnight storm system and Wednesday night storm system. So I would not be completely surprised if we're talking tomorrow night and everything's just been a bust. I would also not be completely surprised if we talk tomorrow night and there's been 15 severe warnings. So again, there are some limiting factors, but there are also some good severe signals. If the video is too small, turn your phone sideways or enlarge it on the video stream. I can't make the map any bigger. I've also got the font size on 78. So if you can't read it, I really can't help you. Because I really can't get it much bigger than this. But again, my advice to everyone is to watch the games on YouTube. Or not the games. I was thinking about the Reds game. My advice to everyone is to watch the streams on YouTube, by the way, because they look better and you can make everything bigger. But if you're watching on Facebook, I'll try to show you real quickly. Let me pull up the page real quickly. If you're watching on Facebook, I hate the way that Facebook has their feeds set up now. When I go to my page, I literally don't see my live video anywhere. Anywhere. Let me refresh it real quick. Now I see it. They got to work on that. So, again, you want to make everything bigger here. Tap the video up at the top. That little cross section down there of arrows, right? The little square of arrows down there. You click that, it turns your phone sideways, it makes everything bigger. Okay? If not, then I would suggest going to YouTube and watching it over there because we also stream on YouTube. Facebook is just like 5 years behind on things. Yeah, Facebook seems to always be making just the most random, unnecessary updates ever. Just like seriously. Also, I kind of figured out why you guys don't see some of my things because I'm not paying for the verification. Guess how much Facebook wants to charge me to be verified on Facebook? Right? Because, I mean, and what's crazy is we have an LLC and we have all the certifications and everything. And usually you get verified through those things for free, but Facebook doesn't do that anymore. Now they want to charge everybody. And because of how large our Facebook following is, they want to charge us $475 a month to be verified. That way when you search Weather Now - Kentucky, we show up first. Right now, if you search Weather Now Dash Kentucky, a literal name, we don't show up first because we don't pay for it. I think that's the craziest thing in the world. $475 a month because we have 130,000 followers. Yes, a month. I thought I was reading that wrong too because if it was $435 a year, I might have done it. Even though I still feel like that's absolutely insane. I think I pay Twitter like $10 a month to get verified to help be a little bit higher in the search bars. But 435, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. And now the Facebook bases it off of like follower size, how many people like engage with your page and everything too. But we cannot afford that. Have y'all seen how much diapers are and formula is? We cannot afford that. That's ridiculous. Yeah, Ricky, I wish that's how it worked, but they don't care. It's just about how to make money, That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. But thankfully, we have built up such a large following, and thanks to you guys. And when you guys like and share our posts and stuff and comment and everything, it really helps to give our page a little bit of a boost. So every time you guys like, share, or comment, you're literally helping our page. So thank you to guys for that. But yeah, it's almost as much as my electric bill. My electric bill last month was $490. So that's ridiculous too. It was $475 a month, I think, or $435 a month for the verification. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So again, I'm gonna wrap up this broadcast here soon because I don't want to stay on here too long because I want to go take a nap before things really get going tonight. As far as tonight into the overnight, 2 to 7 a.m. Eastern time, there is a 2 to 4% tornado risk for this green area here. Main risk, however, though, is going to be damaging winds. So that's for the overnight into Wednesday morning. Now, as far as Wednesday morning from sunset or from sunrise and onward, we will see thunderstorm activity in all parts of Kentucky or most parts of Kentucky. However, the severe risk just isn't there because these storms are running out of the better energy pocket. Okay, so just expect thunderstorm activity no matter where you are in Kentucky at some point Wednesday morning. For some of you, it'll be several hours long. Wednesday afternoon, we look to clear out, and then around lunch or dinner time on Wednesday is when more storms move in, and they do pose a risk for damaging winds and maybe a 2 to 4% tornado risk, but that's not been posted yet. So that's what we're looking at right now. And again, of course, I will make several post updates. What's going on with the camera, by the way? I will make several post updates and several videos. We'll do all the good stuff that we guys always do. That's kind of how we go. Yeah, I think most people are going to be fine on mobile homes tonight. If there is a tornado, it's probably going to be of the weaker variety. Now, of course, you guys always know my rule of thumb. Have a backup plan. Have somewhere you can go real quickly if a tornado warning is issued and you do live in a mobile home. But as far as needing to relocate tonight for a big time event, I don't really see that as being necessary. All right. Yeah, Leanne, thank you very much. Okay. That's going to do it for now because I'm going to go look at the new data coming in and then try to squeeze a nap in before this storm starts tonight so I'm good and fresh for you guys because it's already been a long couple of days, if you will. I don't know what's going on with that camera on the left side. We might have to just chalk that from there and just put the Elizabethtown one in. Okay, that's going to be it for me. I appreciate you guys tuning in here. I'm George Harvey, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Don't freak out. We got you guys' back. Until next time, stay safe.